You are not going to want to miss this episode, and you definitely won't be able to miss our next guest, Banksie, the 7-foot supermodel of Manchester. Banksie is a 23-year-old drag performer who has taken the scene by storm. Appearing on RuPaul's Drag Race UK, Banksie is a northern icon and an absolute fan favourite. She's an activist for the queer and trans community, and her drag inspires so many people. We loved having this conversation, and I know that you're going to love it too. It's an insight into their mental health, growing up queer, and how drag and community has pulled them through some of their darkest times. Welcome to the next episode of Leave It Here. So this podcast is all about continuing our message of normalizing the conversation around mental health and diving a little bit deeper into how success and struggle can kind of coexist, and that through dark times you can move out of them and still achieve incredible things. And I am delighted. I never say delighted.
It's the only word to use, I think.
To welcome the superstar that is Banksie.
Hello!
Yay!
Wow, oh my God. I'm scooching up a bit because it's a very uncomfortable chair.
I'm really sorry, we've done really rubbish with the chairs.
Yeah, but it looks nice.
It looks
That's
gorgeous.
all that matters.
Did you come on brand on purpose?
Yeah, because I've just nicked everything from the corner over there.
Genuinely all from the stock cupboard.
Yeah. I wore too many brands because I'm too famous, mate.
So how you doing, babe? You
I'm
okay?
doing good.
Yeah?
It's been a hell of a... I don't know how long it's been, to be honest. It's been a while.
A hell of a life.
A lot of a life recently, yeah. But it's been good. How are you?
Great.
Who
really
asked
good.
that? How are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. We ask each other.
Every now and again.
Really
Yeah.
unwell, actually, if that's okay. That's why we started a podcast.
We'll save that for another episode.
Yeah.
So let's just get into it. Let's start. Let's talk about you, Banksie, and I'd love to hear what comes to mind when I say Banksie's mental health journey.
Oh, honestly, it has actually been a roller coaster. I go through up and downs all the time. I think I have a very complicated relationship with my mental health. I think, especially before being in the public eye, that sounds so cocky to say, but being in the public eye.
You're in the public eye now.
It has changed everything being on Drag Race, but before that, I definitely had my ups and downs, and they were a lot less frequent. And then recently, since the show, it's been a lot more roller coastery, like going from that's what I say. It's like Oblivion at Alton Towers.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a constant ride, and then it just drops you instantly down, and then you do it all over again in about 25 minutes. So yeah.
You just keep queuing up.
Yeah, you got to
back
queue.
to
You
it,
got to queue. You got to queue for it. Fast
Get your
track.
ticket.
I've not got a fast track for my own
No.
mental health, but it's fine.
So how was that then? Like going from, because I'm like, I can't even imagine, like you were already well known in Manchester. Like like we'd see people in the club and they'd be like, oh, that's Banksie over there. But now you're like in front of like what Drag Race has got, like what is it?
It's like 60 million people who watch it every
viewers.
single week. Yeah,
And then
Oh my God, 60 million people have seen your face.
I know, and the rest.
how have you processed that?
It is that thing of like, I was kind of well-known-esque in Manchester. I worked really hard to get there. That was a really important thing for me to be like, I am a person in my city who's known or who has some influence with, the community. But then I think the word that always springs to mind is like anonymity. Is like I've not got that anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing because I'm doing more things, and that's great. And I love doing all the things I do when it comes to like performing and being out there. And for more money, which is what people don't really talk about, is like, I am making a bit more money, and that's great. But I mean, the last couple of weeks, last couple of months have literally been, I can't walk down the street as much as I used to. And although that's lovely, and every interaction I have with people is absolutely brilliant, and I love being able to speak to people and see their experience of the show and things. But I would like to go to Primark and not... And just sit in a queue. Just sit in a queue by myself, and that would be nice. I mean, it is probably like 30 people a day, 30 people a day who say hello. And I love saying hello back, but I just feel like when I'm not saying hello, I'm constantly looking over my shoulder.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is someone watching me?
Yeah.
Or
Ours is on like such a smaller scale than that. But I remember when our Instagram following was like tiny, and then over lockdown we blew up, but we wasn't seeing anybody because obviously it was lockdown. And then when we came out, suddenly was walking down the street and everybody, like so many people was recognizing us, and we were like, what's going on? And you instantly feel like you have to change as even though you're being yourself, you're like, oh, there's an expectation on me now.
Well,
But
what
what a
about-
blessing as well to be like, oh, people are following my career, or people are enjoying what I do and all that stuff. But sometimes you do want a little bit of alone time, and that's what my home's become, is very much a sanctuary.
Yeah.
But and my partner and my life I have there. But I do like having those times. But when you're on a bad day, when you're on a really bad mental health day, and you're like, I've had a breakdown this morning, and I need just to do one errand. And you've got to code switch. You've got to have those switches of like, I'm not sad anymore because I'm talking to you, Sandra. Hello, how are you?
Yeah.
You all right? I think that's the difference that I've found, is that I can't really have a bad day in public.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be that person who says no.
Yeah.
I'd like to be that person who, if someone's had the strength and energy to go, oh, I really appreciate you, then I want to be able to be that person who's like, thank you. I really, really love that you've had the energy. Because I was nervous. I remember who did I see? It was like, I remember when I was like 13, I saw Edwina Curry, not knowing who she was, except for the fact that she was on I'm a Celeb. And for some reason, because she was on telly, I was really nervous to see her. I was a bit like, oh my God, I'm going to say hello. And I went, hi, not knowing that she's a monster. And, and she did horrible things to the LGBT community back in the 80s. But I was really nervous seeing. I was like, that's always a memory that pops up when I'm like, that person, like people have come up to me shaking, like actually physically shaking and like been in tears. I'm like, God, you really worked hard in your mental health to come and say hello to me.
Exactly. I think people do forget that. Like, it is a two-way street.
Yeah.
I remember once when me and Kira was in IKEA in Warrington.
Having the IKEA argument.
Big up IKEA Warrington. Way.
And we was arguing over knives and forks, and this lady came up behind us and was like tapping us on the shoulder, and we were like full-blown rowing. And we turned around and was like, hi,
how are you?
Just had to like switch.
Yeah, it's
like
like
that.
switch, isn't it? It's so weird.
She's like, thank you so much. Can I have a hug? And we were like, yeah, of course. When she walked off, we were like, we're not getting the knives and forks.
No, it is like that. It's so weird.
It's so difficult.
I had last night where someone decided to wear me coat. Someone was like, I'm wearing Banksie's coat. I wasn't there. And then I walked up and she was wearing my coat. I went, can I have my coat back? She went, no, it's mine now. I love you on Drag Race. I was like, you now know who I am. I can't call you a twat. That's so annoying.
You're just going to have to buy your coat back off eBay tomorrow.
It had glass in it. I was like, what have you done with me coat, you mad woman? Then she coughed in the elbow and I was like, oh, I want to bin this now. Right. I did wear it here today, but it's fine.
You look gorgeous in it. You look gorgeous in it.
So before we continue with the Drag Race story, I want to strip it back.
Nice.
When did you first start being aware of your mental health?
I don't know, really. I think I was from a family that, although are brilliant, and my mum is incredible, my dad's amazing, but like, we didn't really understand mental health, or weren't really trained about what mental health was entirely. My mum gave me the best advice, which was literally just breathing exercises, which was the best mental health stuff she ever taught me. But it was never, if it ever got too bad, it was never, we're going to a doctor. It was never, we're going to a hospital. It was more just like, okay, you know what you can do by yourself. Just do that and fix yourself there. Because I think we were from a working class background where it was like, you fixed yourself.
Yeah.
Like, the doctors aren't for us.
You don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You
it was like Savalon
head down.
was on your legs every single minute of every day. And that was it. That was
You're having a panic attack.
Savalon.
Here's some Vicks.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, I'm dying of pneumonia. All right, well, have a Lemsip. That was about it. And you know what? For some it worked. I think I've got a great immune system now. So but mental health for them wasn't a massive thing. So I don't think it ever was taught to me what it was. And I was in that weird transition period in schools where mental health was only really just starting to be talked about as a thing. Now in schools, I remember my cousins who were like were going through school like about a year ago. They're getting taught about mindfulness, they're getting taught about mental health and all those amazing things. I'm like, I wish I had that. I just got told that I was going to have sex with a lady when I was older, and that you had to put a condom on a bean can. Which was very disappointing when I found out that they weren't that big. But oh well.
On a bean can?
On a bean can, not a cucumber.
Jesus,
no.
bloody
You could tell me from the north, couldn't you? No fruit and veg here. You put it on some Heinz baked beans. That's what you do. So it wasn't really a thing. And I think my first ever panic attack was probably like 10 or 11. And I didn't really know what it was about. And then I remember, I didn't have them very often, but they were like, maybe like just little panics. And I remember my 13th birthday, when I was like 13, I was in school, and being 13, like being seen as now a teenager, was the biggest thing at me at that point. I remember I had the biggest meltdown in school that I could ever have possibly had. I was crying in class and scream crying and being like, this is too much, this is too much. I had a Nokia 360, so couldn't even call me mum because I had no bloody credit. I was like in tears. I was like, maybe this is what a panic attack is. This is what people talk about on the telly. And then over time, I think as I became more aware of what mental health was and what mental health could be, I was like, oh, it's got worse now because I know what it is. I can now
Yeah.
analyze it and know what it is.
Mhm.
And I've been through some horrible shit. So I think it's just with a life experience, you sort of have more hurdles to get over when it comes to mental health. So those hurdles have been in front of me quite a lot.
And you had like a coping mechanism with them, with like you wrote in your diaries, right?
Oh yeah, so yeah, I found my my old school diaries, and I've blocked out from probably like year 7. Well, apart from the odd bit, but like year 7 to like year 10, I didn't really remember anything. I can't really go back and go, oh, that was what school was like. Like, and I remember I was probably from being horribly bullied and having pennies thrown at me head. God, it's very depressing this now, isn't it? But I remember finding when my mum was moving house. I remember finding all my old planners, like daily planners. And I remember going through them, being like, "Oh, this is nice. This is lovely. Like lovely ideas of what I was like at school." And because I can't remember anything. And I remember getting up to my like 14, 13, 14, and finding loads of suicide notes and loads of
Wow.
like drawings of me killing myself and all
Oh
this
my gosh.
horrible stuff. And I was like, "Oh my God, was I really bad? Like, have I locked out this part of my mind because I was actually really unwell?"
Yeah.
And that was my coping mechanism, was that I've just kind of erased it. You know what I mean? Erased it from my head, that time period. And I think a lot of queer kids, especially that time period of like 13, 14, you're kind of figuring out that your attraction's different to what people are telling you. And on top of that, you're like, well, I don't fit in with anyone I'm here with. People are telling me I'm wrong. People are telling me it's different. And so I'm bullied for that. And then on top of that, I'm like, oh, well, I don't really belong here. Like, I've not seen a world outside of this school life that I've got.
Yeah.
So I think it was a mixture of just being very effeminate, very queer, and very weird. I was a very weird kid. But now I look back at that and go, that was the coolest thing about me. That was a very odd child. Like, I remember, like, I loved wigs. I mean, it's made up for a career now.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
I remember like wearing wigs. I remember like school uniform day. I remember I dressed up once as an old man, and I like wore a really old grey wig, and everyone was dressing up as like Britney Spears and like cool pop celebrities. That was just like with a walking stick, dressed as an old man walking through school. I was like, just why was I such an odd weirdo? This is so great.
I once dressed up as Shakespeare, like
There
full,
you go.
full like frilly socks, like the whole shebang.
And
the
you're
big
a
hat.
lesbian, correct?
No, but I think that's so true.
Are
like,
Please say yes.
I think that's so true. Even like what you said about kind of in school, you're just taught, right, you're going to have sex with a woman or a man or whatever. They
Well,
don't
the opposite
teach
to what you
you,
are is, yeah.
They don't teach you about growing up queer, and then on top of that, the bullying. My nickname actually at school was queerer, and that was before we reclaimed the word queer.
It was bullying then. Now it's not.
Then it was it was really bad. Now I'm like, fucking call me queerer all day long. I love it.
Getting a deep poll sorted as we speak. Yeah, that'd be great.
Just sign there. But yeah, I think it's so important to like for schools to be having those conversations now, because it also shows the kids who are doing the bullying that it's not weird. Like it's totally normal, and it can save so many young kids from
doing something really harmful.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess you've spoken about the wigs, you've spoken like about the writing and drawing. That's almost like an inkling into the creativity that you clearly have as a person. And do you think that has manifested into who Banksie is as a performer?
Yeah, I think I didn't really. I remember watching Drag Race at like 16 and being like, "This is what I want to do. I love this. This is great." I remember putting it off like a year when it was on Netflix and being like, "This is too queer. If I say that I like this, I'm gonna put more harm on myself than I need. So I'm just not going to introduce myself to this world whatsoever." And then I was like, "Oh well, I'll watch it now because it's school holidays or whatever." And I just got so flung into it, and I was like, "This is perfect for what I love. This is costume and creativity and drawing and painting and did all the things I liked but thought I could never do." I was gonna be a doctor. That was what the dream for me was. That was what I wanted to be, but there was a lot of pressure from outside sources. And then when I told my mum, I was like, "Okay, I'll just be a doctor." My mum was like, "Yes, great,
Wow.
a doctor. My son's a doctor," and all that. And then I was like, I kind of just dropped that dream because I was like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to be a success for everyone else. I can find my own success in what I want to do. And I did find that, and that's great. And I'm not gonna lie, it was absolute hell starting out. Like trying to become something in a very, very saturated community where there is so much going already, and that has been before you. You know, I wasn't the one to start the drag scene in Manchester. I'll never be the one to start the drag scene in Manchester. I just wanted to fit in with it. I wanted to be a brick on the wall. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, what was it, like 17, 18, I started college, and I was watching Cheddar Gorgeous and All the Family Gorgeous on, they used to do little series called Drag Me to Manchester. That was what it was called. And it was little, like Cheddar invented TikTok, just so you know. She did. Before TikTok was a thing,
Wow.
she was doing day in the life videos on YouTube in like portrait, just at the club being like, hello, my name's Cheddar Gorgeous and my name is Anaphylactic and this is Cheddar Cha-Cha Boudoir. And they would have every single Cha-Cha Boudoir have a video, and it was this amazing night, and it was a dream of mine to perform there, and I did get to do it one day. And then it closed and we haven't been there since. But it was this thing where I was like, there are people 20 minutes away who are doing this and are successful and are flying to Asia and being partners with Selfridges and have careers. Because I thought it was working in a working man's club for 6 nights a week for £20. You know what I mean? Like, I thought it was going to be that. And then I was like, oh, actually, you can be really cool and really successful and put on events and nights and have a dance and kind of, what is it, pay to party and pay to live. I'm not really paid to party anymore because I can't do it anymore, but I'm a bit like pay to put on lipstick. That's what I like to do. And talk to people. And you
put it on beautifully.
Yeah, I draw new ones on.
Gorgeous.
That's how good I'm at it. Yeah, literally.
So I want to go back to the healthy coping mechanisms. There was a story that, obviously, we are friends as well. We're not just a podcast. We speak all the time.
Yeah.
About the Banksie armour. Will you tell us more about that?
Oh yeah, so that was like around the 16-year-old point, was like I started doing drag and started sort of feeling, I remember sitting, there's a smell that I remember of MAC Studio Fix foundation that if I ever smelt it again, it would take me right back to that, because it was that time period of like trying drag, feeling indestructible and finding this armor. I mean, back in the day, it was probably like one very small tin helmet, and now it's like, you know, it's gold armor, it's really strong stuff. But back then it was like I could take that armor that I had at college in my bedroom, putting that little tin hat on and feeling like a superstar. And then I could take that into school the next day or into college the next day and feel like a superstar. I do it now. I mean, Banksie armor is kind of something that I've had to cope with and grow with, because I've told this story before, but I'll tell you now. But I had a concussion when I was about like 4 or 5 years ago. So I just started really and was like making waves. I was really big in the scene. Well, I was getting big in the scene. I was really having a great time. And then I got a concussion because, can I say how I got? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I smoked too much weed. All right.
We've all been there. We've all done it. It's all right.
I was a bit of a stoner when I was bloody 19. And I smoked 3 joints in one sitting, got up, realised that I was absolutely ruined, and was like, I'm just walking home. This is in like Longsight. And I was like, okay, I'll walk home. I was like, I'm feeling a bit funny. I'll sit on this lovely little brick wall in this like terrace house. I sat there for a minute and instantly stood up and just face planted the floor and whiteyed and smashed my nose in, smashed my face, and I had cuts all over my face. And I just passed out on that floor until someone found me, and then got taken back to someone's house and was like, okay, we'll have to put you to sleep for 23 hours or something like that. Which you're not supposed to do when you have a concussion.
Yeah, you're not supposed to sleep, are you?
I know. I didn't know.
Brenda,
but in
Longsight.
See, we're doing medical advice now, you know. Medical advice, don't sleep when you have a concussion. Makes you worse. But then I didn't realise when I went to the doctor the next day, because I started having these weird panics. I was like, these panics are coming. And so I was like, went to the doctor. My body was fine, but they were like, you've probably got a major concussion. I was like, why? And I didn't know that they told me that when you've smoked weed, your brain is more fragile and it's more like jelly. And it's less structured. So when you smack it, you're already at a -5, and then you've added that concussion, which is a -10 on top. So I was like in a major concussion zone for them. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just heal up and that'll be fine. And then I remember like a couple of days later, I was like, I'm going to go out and do some errands. I've got a plaster on my nose. I'll be fine. I'll just go for a walk. And I had one of the worst panic attacks in a coffee shop. I was at bloody Tibb Street round the corner. Sorry, that's just giving you location away. But round the corner, and I remember...
We want people to know where we are, Banksie.
Yeah, sorry,
Come see us.
There's a lovely club next door, if you didn't know. But I had this worst panic attack ever, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, why do I keep having these over and over again? Every day I'd leave the house, I'd have a panic attack. Kept happening. And I just couldn't leave the house. I realised from the concussion I developed agoraphobia.
Wow.
I was like, so I just ended up being in the house for like a month or 2. Just couldn't leave the house, but the only way I could leave the house was in drag. So I had to put on a wig to leave the house. So Banksie could go and work, but, sorry, dead name, Johnny couldn't leave. And I was like, oh, so this is my superhero armor now. Like, I remember I'd go to Bollocks and go for a night out, but I'd have the plaster on my nose and a full wig, and I'd be having an amazing time, and I'd get back in, take the wig off, and I'd just be a shaken mess again.
That's wild,
That's
isn't it?
crazy.
And it was like some weird psychosis that was going on, where it was like, you've actually got dual personality disorder now. Got over that now. I'm now one individual person.
How did you get over that bit? Like, what was the turning point of that? Or I guess this is almost another question of like, how different is Banksie who we see on stage to Banksie who we see having avocado toast next door
Every day.
The best avo
Every
in
day.
Manchester.
Best avo in Manchester, really.
But how did you get through that? And did Banksie just become such a huge part of you? Are you the same person?
You know what? I think getting over that time period was rough, but it was a moment where I was like, it was just time. It was just taking baby steps. It was giving myself patience. And it was like, if I've got to go out, I need to be out for 3 hours. Let's make it 30 minutes. Let's see if we can then, next week we'll do an hour. And then the week after that we'll do 2. And then it became that thing of I was giving myself challenges, and I ended up meeting those challenges, and that was giving myself patience. But with, are they the same person? I think they used to be very different. And I think they used to be, you know, I was in a lot of relationships where I had to be very masculine, and right, funny. No, but just, you know, that I was like, I'm going to be a man. I'm in a gay relationship. I'm going to be a man. I'm a man. I don't care if Banksie exists. I'm a man. And then that was almost like me kind of telling myself something that I didn't really need to hear. It was something that I was kind of like pushing back on. And then as I realized more of what my gender was, I realized that actually they were the same person again. So they were very separate until I realized I was non-binary. And then I was like, oh, actually, you can live together now. You can be together. Like, I don't really go by Johnny anymore. I go by Banksie all the time. Like, Banksie just is me.
Yeah.
Not doing a Depol because it costs 50 quid. So I'm not doing that. But yeah, that's kind of where my life has got to now, especially being with Ol, my amazing partner. Like, her transition and watching her transition has made me kind of go, do I want to go through this? Do I want to do this? Is this for me? And I've gone, actually, no, I'm just going to do every day, you know? And Banksie's there every day. And I kind of turn on. All you say, I did have Banksie mode, which was when I become super confident. And I'm like, you know, like when you're on a phone call with a really important person and you're like, hello, darling, da, 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 yes, da, 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 da. And it's very like, you've got to put on a bit of a character. I still have that. It's like Banksie Extreme. Like Banksie Extreme still exists. But Banksie every day is quite chill.
Yeah. I think we all have that as well, don't we? We've all
that.
got that in us where, you know, there's days where I really don't want to come to work. I'm not feeling great, but I sometimes just find this strength in me to be like, well, I've got to do that. So you find the confidence somewhere, don't you? I think everyone's got that a bit of that in them.
And that's basically what the podcast is about. Like, leave it here. Is even when you're bad days, when you're struggling, obviously the struggle and the success conversation again is you've still got to turn up. Like, whatever that day is, like if it's work, if it's relationship, like whatever it is, you still have to turn up sometimes. Like, how do you do that? So if you're having a bad day, a struggling day, and you've got a performance that evening, do you have like a technique where is it getting into drag? Is that your technique?
Because for this podcast, actually, you were a massive inspiration for it. From when we did, no, you were like, probably should give you some royalties somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
But aren't we making any money off this? Jesus.
If we do, we'll give you some royalties. But when we did our night, Make Me Feel, that you performed at, which you were incredible at, Amy and I were sat outside having a cigarette whilst you and one of the other performers, Mariella, were chatting, and she wouldn't mind me saying this, but she was quite upset. She was having a hard time. And you two had such a beautiful conversation about, as performers, you are expected to just like put your face on, get out, do the job. A lot of it comes with like having a drink of an evening. It's late nights and like how difficult that can be.
It was a transition of seeing Mariella upset, you comforting Mariella, and then it was like, oh, we've got to be back on stage in 5 minutes, and it's the
switch.
literally
Code
the switch.
Like we talked about, honestly. And I think the struggle I've had recently is that because Banksie and my old me, Johnny, has become very synonymous with each other. I haven't had the armor as much as I used to, of just being like I used to be able to be like the concussion story, like I can just put the face on and then I'm someone else. Because they're the same person, I don't have that as much anymore. So like literally yesterday, I'll give you an exact example. I was really disappointed in myself because I was supposed to do a photo shoot, and it was at 10 a.m. I had to be ready for, and I got up at 8. I was having a really bad mental health day, and I got to the studio, started painting my face, and usually that's my fix, and usually that's me being able to do it, and it didn't work, and I had a full meltdown, and I was like, this isn't working anymore. Oh my God, this isn't working. The eyeliner's going on, it's not working. I'm not changing. I'm not relaxing. Why am I not relaxing? I went into a full meltdown, and I went home. It was with one eyeliner on, walked into all, burst into tears, and was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. It's so scary. And like, I was like, this doesn't work. It's supposed to work. Like, why do I feel like I'm constantly on edge all the time? Why is my nervous system like failing me? And then I fell asleep for like 6 hours. And the people who were supposed to do the shoot with, I felt so upset because they showed up. And I didn't tell them where I was. And they went home going, Banksie's not here. And she's disappointed us. And I was so frustrated because I still have a lot of people pleaser in me from growing up. I think a lot of queer people do. They have a lot of people pleaser in them. Because I still want people to be impressed with me and be happy with me and
and like feel accepted. I
and
guess.
feel accepted. And that was a moment where I was like, I've really let people down, and I never want to let people down. And yeah, it's something that I'm still trying to work with. I've had a horrible time the last couple of months. I really started this podcast being like, I'm fine, this is great, but it has been horrible. It's like I've not been myself, like my happy-go-lucky self. I've woken up every day with anxiety. I never do that. I'm like, but why am I anxious? Like, am I anxious over money? Am I anxious over the time I'm spending with my partner? I'm not getting that. Am I anxious about Drag Race, about all this? And I can like see it. I can usually like analyze of where my anxieties lie. And I think because there's so many of them, they're getting really muddled up. And it's hard to pick apart things and make active plans of like, how can I assess the money issue? I'll do this and I'll fix that. How can I do this? I'll do that. And yeah, it's just the disappointment really resonates with my anxiety a lot of the time, because I think I grew up really trying to make everyone happy. But then obviously being queer, you're like, well, I've disappointed some people here, so now I've got to work everything else. I have to work really hard now, even harder to make people happy.
Doubly hard. I think there was 2 things in there, and this is like me just saying something to you. I don't want to give you advice on the podcast or be like, oh,
can you
this
fix
is a
me,
therapy
please?
session.
Fix me.
But it's like, you have got so much going on right now. Like, you have been thrust into this like whole new world, and you're so busy that like you need to look after yourself as well. So if you show up to something and you feel like, I can't do this, then you don't have to do it. Like, you're in control, and you're such a lovely person that you're always going to feel disappointed in letting someone down. But I honestly think that it's so important to be able to turn around and say, do you know what? Actually, what's best for me right now is to say no and offer to do it another time.
We're doing it tomorrow now. So
well,
good.
there we go. You've already done it.
I sent them the longest message just being like, this has been one of the worst days of my year. Please give me a fucking break for a second. But also, do you ever feel that, and this is just me sometimes, maybe this is something I've got to really like go over in my head, but because of the success, I feel, or like, it sounds even, I think it's a very working class thing. So when you start saying the word success, you start going, well, when we were in the mines, we didn't have success. No.
Literally.
It's kind of like having to remind, like, oh, my, like, you do it, don't you?
All
like,
the time.
oh, I grew up on a council estate. And I'm like, yeah, my family working class, they moved over from Ireland and they had nothing until they worked 7 days a week.
Yeah, exactly. That was mine as well.
I feel like you've got to, like, justify.
Work absolutely extremely hard. Then we go on a nice holiday, and I'm walking around the holiday going, I'm working class. Definitely working class.
Can you fill that bag up with bread for me? Thank you. Take that home. Sorted.
I've worked really hard to be here today.
Literally. But no, that's the thing is, like, when I say, like, oh, my successes, and like, oh, I feel and I say, oh, well, I don't want to do that, or I feel ungrateful. I feel ungrateful for everything I've got, and like, it's probably because we were very grateful for what we had, sort of thing. But especially my mum and dad worked really hard to get us in a position where we were comfortable, and we weren't that comfortable. We were just kind of like in a nice house that was good. But they both, my mum was worked. My mum's dad was like a dockyard worker. My dad lived on a council estate his entire life. We had like. I remember, my favourite story, I'll just give a nice thing, but I remember my entire childhood was only happy because I went to my great-granddad, who was like the patriarch of our family. Patriarchy. But no, and but every Saturday we would always go to his house for about 15 years. Every single Saturday, rain or shine, every single Saturday, and we would always have chips in the tiniest little, tiny little terrace house in Lee. and it was probably like 2 beds, tiniest kitchen, probably the size of where we're sitting, with like a tiny little leaf table, and 25 of us would sit in there.
Wow.
And the entire family would go every single week. And that to me is like, that's working class in my head.
I
Like,
love
that's
that.
burning, not having any phones or toys or whatever, so it's burn ants with magnifying glass because that's all we had. And like
Every Sunday we used to go to my nana's and everyone of the family would be
Everyone's
there.
there.
Everyone. And we'd just like sit and watch, put the telly on.
Yeah. Oh, you've
and
had a
get
new
some lunch.
baby? Oh, that's good. Yeah, nice. Hello. You're right.
Cucumber butties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Croissant.
They're just having vinegar on your chips, but the vinegar's got ants in it. It's been there since 1972. Yeah, exactly.
Did they have the toffee drawer?
No, we weren't allowed toffees.
Oh, was it not?
My
My nan used to have a
granddad's chair
toffee
had
drawer.
the toffees nearby, so he had toffees, and he had his telly in his chair, and we weren't allowed to talk to him. And unless he spoke to you
Lovely time.
first, and I go, oh yeah, and he'd go, hello.
But I think it is as well. Like we like as people, I think, and I don't know like where I think parts of it comes from coming from that working class background. Probably parts of it comes from being queer. But then I think as well, just being human, you feel guilty for celebrating yourself, and you shouldn't. Like you've worked so hard to be there, and like what Amy says is true. Like when we go on a nice holiday, like sometimes I don't even want to put it on Instagram because I'm like, oh,
I'm rubbing it
I
in
don't-
people's faces.
yeah, like
yeah.
I don't deserve to do this. But actually, it's like, and we had a conversation about it. We filmed a video about it, didn't we, not long ago? About like, no, actually, like we've all worked our asses off, and we're not like getting jets to like Cornwall, are we? Like we're going on a
Can you
nice
get a
holiday.
jet to
and-
Cornwall?
I think some people
Some
do.
people
don't
do.
they?
Yeah. Someone
We did it. We did it once.
Yeah.
But then, so I guess then, because I loved seeing this moment, and like, I want to know you. I want to hear you say like that this is a success and that you're proud of it. Is I loved witnessing this moment of when you got the call about Drag Race, and we were sat in the club. And you ran over to Bo and you were like, Bo, toilet now. And you were in tears. And
Bo
you
was
and-
like, I don't want to go to the toilet with you. I don't want to go.
You and Bo go into the toilet and then come back out. Me and Amy are sat there like, oh my God, are they okay?
Something's
are they all
happened.
right? Something's happened. What's going on? And then you came out and you were just like,
But me and
beaming.
Bo in tears. Like,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
it's really good actually.
Yeah,
It's nothing sad. It's really good.
You were absolutely like, you were in tears, but you were beaming. And like,
Yeah.
none of us said anything. But in that moment, me and Amy knew. I was like, that's Drag Race. Like,
Yeah.
they're going
Yeah,
on
I
Drag
definitely
Race.
didn't break my NDA. No,
Yeah,
nothing
no, you
like
didn't.
that.
No,
you didn't.
no NDA was
Yeah.
broken.
No.
I
you
guessed.
could just, you could feel it. You
Yeah.
could feel the energy from you. And looking back at that now, how has it lived up to your expectations?
Yeah, it has, and I've been the luckiest out of everyone. I think the fact that I got 5 episodes in, third out, like unbelievable. Like RuPaul's got some issues, but it's fine. Kidding, love you, mwah, mwah, mwah. But no, the fact that I went so early in comparison to some other people, and I'm getting some of the most love out of anyone, and saying I was narrating bloody episodes, and I was, I had moments where I had really nice, calm moments about my partner and lovely stories, and then moments where I got to sort like show a bit of a cheeky, horrible side and like have a bit of a go at someone in particular, and then also get to leave and have like an iconic exit. People are saying it is, and all that is really nice, and I'm getting loads of love, and I'm getting to do things and getting to go places, and getting lovely messages from people, like some of the loveliest things, and I get to do meet and greets. Imagine that, people wanting to pay an extra tenner at the bar
to come and
and actually have a conversation with me and bringing me a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've had a Doctor Who necklace. I've had people make full bracelets where they say like sausage and mash, yeah, dead sexy. Like
Oh
all
my
that. Someone's
God.
done oil paintings of me, and I'm like, God, you got a lot of time on your hands. But no, it's like what am I like? Anyway, no, it was lovely, but I just I'm very grateful for what it is. Could have been so much worse, and I feel like if I would have made it to the end, you always leave wanting more if you go early. I don't want people to be like, oh, well, she outstayed a welcome. You know what I mean?
But even then, like you said that you're lucky for that, but that is just you as a person. Like that is testament to you as a person. And I remember watching the episodes and being like, that is just Banksie. That's who they are every single day. Like you didn't put anything on for the cameras, like the way that you speak, the kindness that you speak with, and little moments of firiness, but we all have them. Like,
well, you've been locked in a room for 2 weeks and you've not had your phone and you haven't been able to call your partner.
You're not allowed
and,
to speak to anyone. Or
can't speak to anyone. It's a lot. But then, it's great, and it's a great experience, and the challenge was brilliant, and I enjoyed doing it, and I enjoyed everything that was in my head for the last 5 years. I got to put somewhere, and that was really nice. But it was intense, and obviously it's gonna be intense. I'm grateful that it's been an experience which can be grown from. You know what I mean? More than it's an experience which has cut me off
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And mental health wise, it was rough being in those rooms and feeling like you've got to put on something for a camera.
Yeah.
And I tried not to my hardest, which I'm glad it came off that way. I mean, I'll watch the first episode. And we had a little mini premiere in London. I mean, you were there for the big
Manchester
one,
one.
big
Yeah,
Manchester
yeah,
one,
yeah.
which is amazing. Looking 200 people who I love very dearly, all being in one room together. But the one in London, she watched it first time with me. I was dead nervous. She was dead nervous. And she's behind me. And then I say my little bit, like, I'm Banksie, whatever I say. Can't smell me. And then I'll let her behind me. So going, oh, oh. I was like, fucking hell, something like a cat in or something like that. And I just go, you all right, you okay? And she's bawling her eyes out. She goes, you're just as autistic as you are at home. I was like,
yes,
yeah,
we
that's
love
what
the
I want.
neurodivergence.
I was like, yeah, babe, I am good. She was like, I thought you were going to be a real twat on this show. I thought you were going to put all the
she
horrible
didn't.
things. And then she was like, yeah, you just came off really nice. She still hasn't watched my elimination.
Is she not?
She won't let herself watch it. I was like, you've seen the
Oh.
clips. So I've seen a little bit at the end, but like, I won't watch it because I'll just be upset. And I was like,
Oh.
well, watch it because I want you to be upset.
You shouldn't have gone, let's be honest. You shouldn't have gone, but
Yeah.
I think, like you say, like,
RuPaul didn't like me,
you
I
go-
don't think, so it's fine.
I think 'cause you're better than RuPaul.
No, I'm not. She's very good at what she does, and she has money, and I don't. So
She's just jealous.
baby,
no,
you'll come.
but she just has. I think when you've got someone judging drag, I think it has to be something said for. Sometimes your drag isn't exactly what other people want. Like I was not one who fit the mold,
Yeah.
so to say of what she wanted, and maybe it was just that season, or maybe the people that were better than me for what she wanted, and that's fine. But
Yeah.
I know that I'm good enough for me. So
Yes.
that's
That's it. That's it.
Yes.
So how was it then in like the lead up to, because obviously you film, you do it all, it's done, you kind of go back to reality like for quite a few months,
Like,
don't
yeah,
you?
it's like almost a year or something like
Yeah.
that. So, yeah.
And then how was it like the anticipation of it going out, because you know that you don't know really how you're going to be received, how how it's going to come off. Like how was that for your mental health and your anxiety? Like,
Well, there are obviously things that they don't show. And I think that was something that I'm very lucky with. That no, I wasn't horrible. I wasn't horrible to anyone, but there were things they don't show, and I think they've got to condense 2 days worth of work into an hour. You know, and so I was thinking there, like, well, what are they going to use? They've obviously got all this footage they can use from. Did I say something I shouldn't have said? Did I maybe go in a bit too hard on someone? Did my tone get lost in some way in some conversations or whatever? And so you do worry for about half of it. Half of that time period, I was sitting there going like, I'm worried every other week about this, and then sometimes it was just gone, and I just forgot about it, and carried on. I think
because social media is wild, isn't it? Like,
and there were people speculating all the time, and every day. I got a message probably every week from someone going, "Can't wait to see what's going to come for you." Oh, I know you're on. I know this, know that, and you just don't answer them.
Yeah.
But then it's like that month before airing is intense because you have the BBC on your ass, and you have sensitivity training, and you have PR training, and you have to really learn how to be in this sphere, and they have to tell you all the things that can go wrong, and that's scary.
Oh, wow.
When someone's sitting there on a Zoom call going, by the way, you could get doxxed. By the way, we've had people be stalked and followed. By the way, people have sold things to the press that are not real, or they've hunted people down, and there have been death threats, there have been this, there have been like proper scary things happen to people who have done telly, and we need to make sure that you're prepared for that. It might not happen, and it hasn't, which is brilliant, but it might happen.
Yeah.
And that's scary. So you're sitting there for about 2 weeks going, oh my God, I'm going to...
What's
All
gonna
those
happen?
nudes. Oh, those nudes are coming out. It's horrible.
Have you,
I mean, if they did, I'd just go like that. Well done. Well done me. Great. Good job.
have you
But
experienced any like downfall from
you have the odd person who says, get a no job, you snotty bitch. But that's, I mean, if that's all I've got, then that's fine. I think the worst thing was... Not to say the fan base I've created or I've got is brilliant, and I love them to bits, and they're all great, and they're all lovely people. I've met loads of them, but there was an incident when obviously me and Vicky Vivacious had a fallout on the show, and we've not fallen out in real life because that was a year ago.
Yeah.
And you do things with people, and you go, oh, should we have a chat about this? Should we get to know each other a bit better before this comes out? And I'd say now me and Vicky are like mates.
Yeah.
We're all right. We're good. We've gone to each other's gigs. We've said hello. We've had a couple of drinks together and we've got to know each other better. But I only knew about 2 weeks ago that she had about 12 death threats from people calling themselves my fans.
Wow.
It was like, and she came up, she was like, Banksie fans really hounded me and told me to kill myself and were trying to give away information about me and really like ruin my life. And that was the worst thing I could possibly hear.
Yeah.
Because if I'm all about love and peace and grooviness and and I don't want anyone ever to have to experience that kind of negativity under my name.
Yeah, because you weirdly, when it's under your name, you feel like a sense of responsibility, whereas you're not responsible for anybody else's actions other than your own.
Well, then that's what she was saying. So she was there going, well, that's the reason. So we had a bit of a fallout because she was like, I saw Banksie, your name attached to these people saying, I'm Banksie's fans. And she thought, oh, well, they've been sent by you. You've sent them out to get me.
Yeah.
And so she was like, I didn't like you for that period of time. And I was like, if you told me, I would have probably called them all out or made them stop or did it. You should just need to be more communicative with me. But, I never, ever would wish anyone to have to go through that kind of thing because, we've really put ourselves out there going on telly. It's really horrible and hard to like be so vulnerable with a camera.
Yeah.
You know, not knowing where it's going to go, not knowing how it's going to be received and having to wait a year to find out.
Yeah.
It's intense and overwhelming. And then for someone to tell you something that negative is a very like, was this worth it? How am I going to continue after this? You know what I mean? Like, because you only see the one person, you don't see the 200 people telling you're amazing. You see the one person telling you to kill themselves.
Always. You won't, like, and the same with like what we do. Like, we rarely ever get any like negativity thrown our way, but like there's probably been like 5 that I remember all 5 of those, and I know exactly what they said, and like it stays with you, doesn't it? It's like another person having like an opinion on you that you're like, well, no, you don't even know me.
We've
like,
never met, love.
Never met each other. Like, you see something that's online or on TV or whatever it is, and I think sometimes people can think that they know exactly who you are, but don't understand like the impact of their actions or what they say.
I think something that we always say now is that like nothing or nobody is universally liked.
Yeah.
And when you put it in that perspective, it's like, well, I'm not going to be liked by everybody either. Not everyone's going to like this podcast. Not everyone likes that iPhone. Not everyone likes that jumper. Like, nothing is universal.
I love it, actually. It's a Feel Good Club jumper.
Thanks,
It's really
guys.
nice.
Thanks. You can buy it online.
Yeah.
Nothing is universally liked.
You're completely right. We have a therapist on the show, and he was lovely, and he was great, but he would tell us all the same thing, and I think it was really interesting that he said it to all of us, but he was like, television works in thirds, and fan groups work in thirds, and 1/3 of them will love you, 1/3 of them will hate you, and 1/3 of them won't care at all. And that's where you got to think about everything with life. Yeah. Is you'll meet 100 people, 1/3 of them won't care, 1/3 of them will love you, and 1/3 of them will hate you. Just listen to the ones that love you and ignore the other 2/3 because it doesn't really matter what they think. Yeah.
And you are an advocate of therapy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I need to afford it. That's what I need to get. I need to get some therapy. Yeah. I definitely need some therapy. But I will be...
Have you had therapy in the past?
This is how working class I am. My mum went for CBT and she wrote all the notes down and just brought it back to me. She was like, it cost a bit, so we're not going to pay for 2 sessions. We'll just half them if that's all right. I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I know a bit of cognitive behavioural therapy, but that's about it. But I still use those techniques, and they do get me out of stuff. Breathing therapy is literally one of the best things I've ever had taught to me ever. But all my friends think they're therapists anyway, so I just usually go to them. Yeah.
And that's it. There's so much stuff out there that, like, we had this conversation earlier, didn't we? Of like, not everything. And it's interesting that you said that about the therapist. Like, said the same thing to everybody. Is that it's mental health isn't like a one size fits all. Yeah. Like, you're not going to go. No 2 people will go to the same type of therapy and it will work for them. And it's like about realizing that you're not weird if that doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Like, you can try different things.
Well, it's still with the thirds thing is like, there are therapists that you won't like. There are therapists you won't care about or be connected with, but there'll be that 1/3 of a therapist group who'll be like, oh, actually, they connect with me and I understand them. And they actually affect me in a positive way. And I'm like, oh, I'll go with them then instead of the 40 I've tried already. That's the one that works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With your journey from little 7-year-old to the drag race to the Banksie armor, like, do you now think it's easy to talk about your mental health? Is it normal, air quotes, for you to talk about your mental
I
health?
think from doing Drag Race, and I said a lot on that show, which only certain bits got shown, but I think I had to be really, really vulnerable, and I noticed that it actually worked in my favor. So I think I'm going forward now, I'm just going to be really honest with what's happened and honest with what's going on, and be a little bit more like, oh, if it comes up, it comes up, and don't be afraid to talk about it. Because if it can, if it can chip at an iceberg, which is massive, which is mental health, then that's a really positive thing to make. And also, a lot of people who've seen Drag Race and see people on Drag Race think we're bloody superheroes and think we're untouchable and we're amazing. And we are literally normal as everybody else in the room. And some of us are even worse. Some of us have worse mental health than the majority. And I think that if I can just explain that I'm just as bad as everyone else, then it's okay. It's pretty all right.
I think that's so important, is like, you do see, and like we all do it, like you see somebody from like the outside and you see all these incredible things that they're doing, and see on social media, and you forget that actually they've got things going on themselves as well, and that we're all just humans. We all have mental health. Like, some days it can be really bad, some days it can be really good, but we all have it. And I think one of the things that, and by having this conversation, is getting across, is like, it's okay to just talk about it. And it's okay for, like, just because you've been on TV and you've done all of these incredible things, you're just the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
And we all struggle.
We really do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
When you are struggling, what is the thing that brings you the most comfort?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Honestly, I'm full of them.
It sounds quite depressing, but my bed.
Yes.
It actually does. I've got a lovely house now, and I've probably been in like 6 different houses in Manchester. And my last one was with the amazing Bo and Gert, and that was my lovely little safe space. But ever since we got kicked out there, we wasn't evicted because they couldn't pay me bloody money. I was evicted because the bastard landlord increased the price of the place. But they do that now, they do that to make it really unaffordable for people. Yeah. Oh, wow, interrupt me. No, anyway, no, kidding. But my bed really is, because I'm in a lovely home and a lovely safe space. I've made a sanctuary of it. It's light, it's bright. I've got my beautiful partner there, and we have really good switch off time. And we've really tried to, like, one of the things we noticed was we were really being quite outward facing and being quite like, let's do this and this and this and fill our days, and we'll get back at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we'll go to bed and we'll wake up at 10, and that'll be something we'll do every day. And now we're like, actually, we need home time.
Yes.
We need to finish at 7, go home, make tea, because we both love sitting and eating together and having conversations, and have really like have some quality time at home. And because we both have the same thing of, like, we feel lazy, and if we're not doing loads of things, then we're lazy people. And actually, it's not empty time. We're using the time to decompress.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're working on right now. And like, I bought the pasta for tonight, so we have to do it because it'll go off tomorrow. So we'll do that later on.
Okay, so what we're going to do, which we do on every episode of the podcast, is the whole concept of this podcast is being able to have open conversations about mental health, but also recognizing that it's so important sometimes to just acknowledge what it is that you're feeling and leaving it somewhere. Whether you want to, some people burn it and destroy it. Like, this is something that I need to let go of. Some people keep it and come back to it and read it. But we wanted to have that as like the main theme of the podcast, because it's something that's important to us that we do ourselves. So we've got a little leave it here box. These are going to be destroyed, or you can take one. You can take yours home with you if you want to destroy it yourself. I'm not just going to hold on to them and show everybody.
You can show it, I don't mind.
We're just going to ask you to write down something that you've been holding on to that you want to let go of, and put it in here, and you can leave it with us and hopefully let it go.
Could I use your amazing book to write on? Just so I can write it on.
She's a sales girl.
Just the Feel Good Club book.
Someone's been on telly.
I've got enough brand management. Okay, what am I going to write? I'm probably... do I have to sign it?
Yeah, please do.
Signature, please.
Yeah.
I would like your autograph.
So I've written down my own expectations.
Yes.
I love that.
Because I think that's something that I think I had an idea of what this time would be like. And I think I was like, well, I've got to be doing this. I've got to be doing this, and this. And it's got to look like this. Otherwise, I'm not doing it right, or I'm not doing what I should be doing. And I think that has led to me being really stressed out and really overwhelmed. And I think that there's no way of me having that expectation anymore. It's just got to go. It's just got to flow with what's happening right now, and just be okay that it's liquid.
Oh my God, Banksy, I'm so glad you said that, because this is literally the conversation I've been having personally for the past 2 weeks.
Really?
I get so caught up in like everything having to be perfect. Like, we'll go somewhere for the weekend and I'll be like, we need to have dinner at this time, and that dinner's got to look like this. And whilst I'm having that dinner, I'm talking about what we're doing tomorrow morning. And Kay was like, let's just enjoy the dinner.
Yeah.
And I do it with the business. I'm always like, oh, we're doing this podcast now, but next month we need to do this.
Yeah.
And recently I said to Kay, like, I feel like I'm not enjoying my day today.
Yeah.
And the more I've started to loosen up, the more I'm like, oh my God, everything's actually okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just learning to like trust the process.
It's so funny you said that, because I did that. That was my way of like doing my life, was like I would plan today, but also at the same time plan tomorrow, and then tomorrow I'd plan the day I was having, then tomorrow I'd be doing tomorrow's as well, and it'd all be this. And then I realised I've been doing that for like a year, and I was like, I've not enjoyed my life.
Yeah.
And if I do this for 40 more years, what will I have to remember when I've got no more days left? Do you know what I mean?
It's so true. Like, we say all the time, like, people say to us, oh, where's Feel Good Club going to be in the next 5 years? And we're like,
Don't know.
I don't care.
Don't know.
Yeah, I'm just enjoying the now. I'm enjoying doing this.
Be on the
right
World
now.
Wide Web. That's what I'll be. World Wide Web. That's where everything's at these days.
I think for me, like, and I'm the total opposite in that sense, aren't I? Like, and without promoting recklessness or being like, oh, just be reckless with whatever you're doing. I always just say to Amy, like, life is short. Like, we could die tomorrow. Like, we've had so much happen in the time of opening this business that has proven to me how short and precious life is, that I'm like, do you know what? I don't want to waste any more of my time being like, I must do this and I must do it that way. I'm just like, I just want to enjoy what now is, because when it does come to a point where if it ends, like, I just want to look back and be like, do you know what? I just lived for that moment, and without being like recklessness of live for the moment and do stupid shit.
Yeah,
like
that's what I was doing. I know. It was
intention.
It was a moment in time I was thinking, because everyone kept telling me before Drag Race aired, they were like, enjoy this time, enjoy this, and I was a mess, and I was like, how can I enjoy this time? My life's not even started. It's starting in 2 weeks. It's starting because I'll be on the show. And now it's over. I'm like, this is stressful. I should have enjoyed that a lot more. And why is every moment stressful for some reason? Why can't I just kind of go, well, today's today and tomorrow's tomorrow, and we'll just see what happens. You know
It is
what I mean?
literally the little things.
Yeah.
And like, I always remember like piece of advice when we first started Feel Good Club of, enjoy the little steps, because when you reach the big goal, there's no brass band waiting for you.
There isn't.
And like, you look back and you go, oh, I wish I just enjoyed planning this and doing that a bit more, where you're just constantly going for that big goal. And when you get there, you're like, oh, is this it?
I love that saying, there's no brass band at the end
No
of the
brass
big
band.
honestly,
Yeah.
because literally that's how it feels like sometimes. Like, I'm going to the finale of Drag Race next week, and I'm like, no one's even going to care I'm there. No one's going to care. It'll be fine. I went to the premiere. All I spoke to was Sunita. That was it. She was my brass band, and that was it.
Do you know what? You've got to be your own brass band.
You've got to be your own brass band,
Yeah.
or
Literally
hire a
got
Vil.
Yeah.
If you can. Hire a Vil. She's a brilliant brass band, she is.
Will be your band,
She's
Banksie.
Yeah. So this is my lovely piece of paper. Let's put in the box.
Let's let go of it.
Let's let go of it.
And thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you for having me. You know what? I need to let go of that, because I've been a wreck. So it'd be nice to go home tonight and be like, oh, this is better.
I'll send you a video of me burning it later, and then
Please
it'll
do.
be out in the world, and all your expectations of yourself can melt away, hopefully.
That would be good.
But
And
you're doing
sounds really cheesy and very feel good, but you are enough.
I am enough.
you are.
Anyway.
I am enough.
Okay?
Which page is that on?
You
92.
are incredible. You're an incredible human, and I'm very, very honoured to be what I say, friend. But we'll see.
I don't.
Are we saying friends?
No, I do.
For people who are watching, listening, what would be your one piece of advice?
I think my one piece of advice is probably very similar to what you said, but it's that those little things. There's nothing. There can be big things coming, but in the grand scheme of your entire life, they'll seem minuscule. So every moment you have to sort of reflect and sit in a moment in a room is going to be the most useful time you can spend out your day. Like, and don't overanalyze, but take those moments to breathe and live in the room. You know what I mean? Because We're always running about. We live in a world right now where it's incredibly fast paced and you don't get time to just sit and breathe. Also, try a bit of breathing techniques because honestly, if you lie in bed at night and can feel your toes and move your hands all the way up, it's the way to enlightenment.
I love it. I'm going to try
Have you ever
that
tried
tonight.
it? Body
No.
scanning.
No.
Body scanning, you'll love it.
I have tried body scanning. I
love it.
I have ADHD, so my brain. I start body scanning and I'll get to like my kneecap and then I'm distracted.
Mine's usually like I get to my kneecap and go, well, I'm dying now because I don't know. I have massive hypochondria as well, which is really fun. You said it the thing, you were like, we're all going to die someday. And I was like, yeah, we are actually. We are.
Sorry,
We've not
I'm
thought
sorry.
about it today. We've not thought about it today.
I'm sorry, this was
First day I've not thought about
I know,
it, Kira.
thanks,
Thank
Kira.
you.
this was supposed to be a nice podcast, and now I've
Yeah.
just sent you into a
I know.
spiral. I'm sorry,
I'll send me
Banksie.
invoice later for me therapy. It's fine.
But I am so, like Amy said, I am so grateful to have been able to have you on the show to chat to you, but also to just have you as a friend. Like
I know,
you
same.
are-
We have a lovely time.
We do have a lovely time.
And I get loads of free food, so it's good.
You do.
I will now.
Who's giving you the free food?
Thank you for
We
being
love you.
incredible.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
We
I
love
very much
you.
enjoyed myself.
And we
It's been
can't wait
lovely.
to watch the rest of your journey because I feel like it is only just beginning.
Right, who knows
so,
what's going to happen? It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the
you.
best bit.
I know. It's
It's the
so
best bit.
exciting. I'm very excited.
So expectations.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Don't know what it's going to be,
Get
but.
rid of that box.
No. Goodbye.
Bye.
Yay.